Welcome to the Way She Leads podcast, where we integrate strategy, intuition, and real-life leadership so that you can create impact with more joy and ease without pushing, proving, or burning yourself out. Hi, I'm Megan Akatu, former corporate leader turned transformational coach, and I help women feel fully alive in their purpose in a way that ripples out through every area of their lives. If you've ever felt like there is a better way, you are not wrong and you are not alone. Each episode brings you conversations with experts and real leaders sharing tangible and holistic practices to help you lead your life in a way that actually feels good, not just looks good on paper. Welcome in. Today, I have Francesca Zoia on the podcast, and she is a relationship coach and a huge dog lover. And Francesca and I met several years ago when we were both starting our coaching businesses in a course, and we ended up in the same breakout room and just really hit it off, and we've just stayed in touch ever since. And I'm just so honored over the last few years that we've been able to remain in touch. We also know that we work with a very similar type of woman. It's just where are the biggest stresses at the time. If it's with work, you come find someone like me, and if it's in relationships, you go find someone like Francesca.
Thank you. How we met is truly like synchronicities brought us together. And the fact that we've been able to maintain a fully online friendship for almost 2 years now is also incredible, because it's hard to stay in touch when you're as busy as we are. You're also older than me, and so I'm just so honored that you want to spend time with me as well.
Can you tell us a little bit more about you and how you became the Francesca of today?
Yeah, of course. So as you said, I'm a dog lover, but also I like to start with where I'm from because it does shape my life experience. So I'm half Dominican, half Italian, and I grew up a bit in the US. I say that because I grew up in two extended families and in two cultures that are super patriarchal, and that massively influenced the relationships that I witnessed around me and how I was showing up in relationships, and a lot of how I was treating myself. I put up a post this week about my grandmother that was in a significantly abusive relationship, and not that it was never spoken of, it was never acknowledged. Until she passed, I wasn't really privy to what she went through in her relationship and the extent of how bad it was, but I could feel it, you kind of smell it in the air that there's something that's not right. And fortunately, I've never been in a physically abusive relationship. I didn't witness one at home, anything like that. But intergenerationally, the way in which my grandmother had to be in her relationship, and she was so conditioned by the patriarchy, she had such internalized patriarchy, that affected how my mom showed up in relationships, it affected how I show up in relationships, it affected what I expected from men, or what I should have expected but didn't, the standards that I should have held in a sense. So that's the backstory. And then in my early 20s, I was obsessed with psychology. I got my undergrad, got my master's as a psychotherapist, trained as a psychotherapist, and then learned to trust life's path rather than impose my own will on it. And so I entered the coaching world, which was so unexpected for me. And now I work as a relationship coach, also of my personal life. I've been in a long-term relationship since high school. We were long distance for about 9 years. Now we live together, we're engaged, we're getting married. It's all super cute. So we've been together for 13 years now. I think for 8 of those years, I was should I stay or leave? The whole time. That was just in the back of my mind. Is this the right relationship? Should I stay or leave? Having a really hard time trusting my own ability to know whether it was a good relationship, and having a really hard time trusting my partner to be the right person for me now and evolve into the right person for me in the future. So I dove deep into my own therapy. I was studying to be a therapist. I started going to therapy when I was, I like to tell people, I like to kind of share a little bit of some things about myself, because just to normalize, we're all just kind of going through it, it's okay. And so when I was about 21, I had a lot of issues in my relationships. My mom, my sister, my dad, my partner, my friends, all these issues. And then I realized I was the common denominator of those issues. So I started going to therapy, I started working on myself. And that's where I just uncovered this whole world of internalized patriarchy, conditioning, limiting beliefs, wounds, insecurities, attachment issues, all that stuff. And all of that was massively influencing and impacting my current long-term relationship.
Yeah.
So fast forward, I took all of that, and now that's why I focus on helping women figure out whether they should stay or leave, because I know I know what it feels like to feel like so alone and anxious in that decision, especially when you've been with someone for a really long time and you think about those things before you end something that you've invested so much of your life in.
Exactly. And I also see so many parallels to the career life as well of do I stay or do I go? I've invested so much. People know me here. I've built up a reputation. It's probably a similar track, and we're going to talk more about that.
Yeah.
What surprises you the most when you are working with high-achieving women and how they show up in their relationships?
That's such a good question. So actually, this is something that I actually interviewed someone on my podcast that helped me realize this, and I was like, that's so true. So high-achieving women are quite goal-oriented, they're determined, they're perseverant. They are not going to give up easily. They're going to go for what they want. However, in certain types of goals, they're very much based on how much you give towards the goal. They're very much based on your work ethic and how much you work towards it. In relationships, it's different. You're co-creating something with someone.
Yeah.
So if you are working towards a goal, but this person is not working towards the same goal, you're going to do more work than you're supposed to. You're actually going to push, not always, it's not a cause and effect. But for the most part, you're going to push this person away. You're going to enable them into not having to show up. You're going to take over all the responsibilities and you're going to make it work. But along the way, you're going to develop an insane amount of resentment. Mm-hmm. It's going to affect your intimacy. It's going to create a lot of conflict or like passive aggressiveness or lack of conflict that should be happening because conflict is healthy. And it's really hard for the women that I work with that are high achieving to know when it's time to surrender. Mm-hmm. To know when it's time to let go. And I don't mean let go of the entire relationship, because a lot of times someone comes to me, probably same with work, like, do I stay or leave this job? Do I stay or leave this relationship? And it's like, hold on a minute. Let's evaluate what are all the little micro dynamics of this relationship that you don't like, and let's just tackle one at a time, because there's different strategies for each one. So again, I don't mean do I let go of the whole relationship, right, but let's look at how you're showing up in a dynamic. Dishes, the easiest one to think of. We can all relate to dishes. Always. Like, so easy, right? So picture dishes applied to like everything else. Is your partner not doing the dishes? Okay, upsetting, 100% valid that you're angry about it. What are you doing with that anger? Are you taking that anger and lashing out at him? That's going to create conflict. Are you taking that anger and being passive aggressive? That's going to create problems. Are you taking that anger and setting healthy boundaries and not also doing the work for your partner? That's going to create some positive change. Or are you like doing the dishes, overdoing the dishes, getting mad about doing the dishes, getting PO'd about getting through the dishes, slamming the dishes, doing all the things. I did them yesterday, you never do them, blah, blah, blah. Like showing how amazing you are because you're doing all the things and you're exhausted by it. But what if you just let go a little bit? What if you didn't do all the things? And I'm sure you see this at work as well, like with the women that you work with. What if you didn't do all the things? What if the dishes were dirty for a day? Can you tolerate the dishes being dirty for a day? And if they're dirty for longer than that, do you have the skills to sit down and have a healthy conversation around the dishes, your expectations, your partner's expectations? Maybe the two of you can work together to find a solution instead of against each other. So it's a lot of different skills that need to be used, and just let go a little bit. If it's a little dirty or a little messy or a little imperfect, can you handle that?
Well, it's fascinating when you're talking about the pushing and the proving and the overworking, because I see that all the time on a leadership side. And I do think that is, how a lot of women move up, especially in the early career. I did this all, everything's all buttoned up. And then people are exhausted and they're like, I don't want to do this anymore. And where did we learn, whether it's on a relationship side or work side, if we just handle it, I get what I want, even if I'm tired. So it must be that we're picking it up either on both sides, or it works on one side, so we do it on the other side.
Yeah.
And I would imagine that there's quite a bit of conditioning around
100%.
that, because I see it all the time.
Yeah. And like, don't get me wrong, this isn't like a conversation of you just need to, it's on you that you need to let go of doing the dishes. No, like there's a lot of men that also use like weaponized incompetence, and there's a lot of men that like truly still, I come from cultures where men truly still believe to this day, and you see it online, even in the US, that women should be the ones cleaning and cooking and doing all those things. And it's, sir, knowing how to clean your dishes is a healthy human life skill. Yeah. You should be doing it as well. Yeah. That's a different topic. If you're working with me, we're going to focus on helping you become accountable for yourself and helping you see what's your side of the street. A lot of times when I work with women, what is your role and responsibility in this dynamic? And let's work on that, because that's all that you can control.
Right.
And I think sometimes, going back to your question about high achieving women, is that I think the roles get a little bit confused. They really have this underlying, I don't know if it always comes from a limiting belief. I think some people are also just really good at like achieving, in a sort of sense of getting stuff done.
Yes.
Sometimes it's a little extra because we have limiting beliefs about ourselves, so we feel like we need to prove something to someone, so we go a little above and beyond. But if you keep going above and beyond and you keep doing more and you keep doing extra, you're creating a dynamic. This is your part in the relationship. This is your part in the responsibility of your relationship, is that you are overdoing and you yourself are creating your own resentment.
Yes.
And that's a hard one for people to hear and recognize and take responsibility for.
Yes. I want to put a pause on that, but we're going to come back to that thought about when we clean up our side of the street, what actually changes on the other side of the street. It's so powerful.
Yeah.
Typically when women are seeking you out, what are they struggling with, and what do they want? What are they looking for?
That's a good question. So it's a lot of this. Like, I don't necessarily write out that I help high achieving women stay or leave the relationship, because that's like a really long sentence. But typically the women that work with me, just the women that I tend to attract, are high achieving women. They're women that they're over giving, they're over functioning, they're overdoing. And so they are feeling neglected. They are feeling abandoned in the relationship. They are feeling, a lot of times they're feeling disrespected. Maybe there's a lot of conflict, or their partner isn't showing up for them in the way that they should. And so a lot of the work that we do together is your work, your relationship is very much a mirror of what's going on internally for you. And that is a very hard thing to look at and a very hard pill to swallow. But, you know, a lot of the women that I work with, they treat themselves in the same way that their partner's treating them.
Yes.
So if their partner's not treating them well, that mirror, right? So if their partner's not treating them well in whatever way, most likely they are crueler to themselves than their partner even is to them. And so when their partner doesn't show up well in the relationship, respectfully, with love and all these things, it's normal for them, right? Because you're treating yourself pretty poorly, that if someone else is going to do it to you, it's hard to say, no, you shouldn't treat me like this when I'm also doing this to myself.
Yes. So like, would you speak to your best friend that way? No. So why are you telling yourself these terrible things of, I failed, I didn't show up, I didn't make this happen, I can't do this? What is usually the biggest aha moment or the biggest unlock women have as they continue to work with you? And it might not be one, maybe it's a multitude of things, but what do they typically start seeing for themselves? I think a lot of this, there's definitely several that come to mind. I think realizing that actually there's so much that's within your control is probably the biggest one. Wow. And a lot of the women that I work with feel quite disempowered in a way in their relationship. And so just to like break this down for anyone that, you know, is listening, when we feel disempowered, we feel helpless, we feel hopeless, we feel like there's nothing we can do to make this relationship better. However, when you start realizing that it takes two to tango, it takes two to create this dynamic. So you can start looking at your side of the street, you can start focusing on what you can control. You start to realize there's actually a lot that you can control. There's a lot that you can influence positively. Not that you can control the other person, but you can influence the dynamic that you're living with that person. That becomes really empowering. I'll give a more extreme example, right? I was helping a woman leave her toxic husband, and he was not happy about the fact that she was leaving her, that she was leaving him, and he would call her and like berate her on the phone. So she feels, because of her conditioning, she feels like she has to stay on the phone and deal with this because she doesn't want to upset him any further. So when she starts realizing, wait, I can hang up the phone, I don't need to stay on the phone and let this person berate me, now she feels more powerful. She felt super guilty, like that 100% always comes with setting boundaries, like the guilt is real. But you know, then it's like,
oh wow, like I don't feel guilty and horrible. I just feel guilty. Okay, let me focus on learning how to manage my guilt, because feeling guilty that I can't stand up for myself, and feeling guilty that I'm hurting this other person, and believing that this person is 100% suffering because of me, which is not true. You can't like cause someone to suffer 100%. That's a more empowering stance to be in, of, oh, okay, this is not my fault, and also I can do something to change my current situation.
And in that case, as the woman realizes, oh, I don't actually have to stay on the phone when we talk about cleaning up our side of the street, then does the person stop calling because they know that if they do call, they're not going to get what they want, which is to be able to kick and stream into the phone?
Yeah. It takes some time. It takes some repetition. People stop because they realize you're no longer available. So a lot of the things that also we work on is put your money where your mouth is. If you're saying you can't treat me this way, also walk away when they start doing that. Remove yourself from the situation. Because if you tell someone that they can't treat you in a certain way, but then you remain open and available to that, you're actually giving very mixed signals, and you're keeping yourself open to the continuous attacks coming your way. And so let's align all of you, mind and body, to step away from this situation that's directly hurting you.
What is the belief that they're holding on to before they start making those changes that quietly sabotages them or disempowers them?
A lot of it comes to those really core beliefs, like I'm not important enough, I'm not good enough, I'm not worthy, I'm not deserving. Or even worse, like some people associate a lot of our behaviors to our identity. Like if I did a bad thing, I'm a bad person, just to simplify it. And so, oh, if I did something bad or I hurt this person, I'm a bad person. So a lot of my clients are Italian, and so, you know, they grew up in a very Catholic country that still has very strong Catholic influences. And it's a very shame, punish-based culture, and it's very much ingrained in your belief system. So if you've done a bad thing or you've hurt someone, you're a bad person, you deserve to be punished. So if my partner is telling me that I hurt them and they're angry with me, I deserve to stay on the phone while they're berating me. And when someone comes and tells you, no, you deserve better, it feels like they're like lying to you. It feels, what you saying, that's not true.
I typically find, as you're saying, deservedness or worthiness, that resonates on the other side as well. My time is worth it. I don't need to be working until 9 o'clock every night or after my kids go to bed. But it's a shift in believing that either you don't need to be the one to say yes to everything because your time and your energy is worth it, or that you also deserve sleep or you're worthy of sleep.
A lot of women that I work with, they like revolve their whole schedule around like their partner or their husbands. I used to revolve my schedule around my partner. Like if my partner was available, I was available. If he wasn't, I wasn't. So as women also, we're so conditioned to be attuned to the man in our lives.
Yes.
And I brought up my grandmother at the very beginning because she's like top of mind for me this week. But if you think to the older generations, like for a lot of women, attuning to the man in their lives and their needs and their feelings and everything was literally safety and survival.
It was survival, right? They couldn't even have their own bank accounts, right?
No, you couldn't even have your own credit card, your own bank account. You couldn't open anything. Me literally attuning to your every need is my survival. And so as much as like Francesca, 30-year-old is like, it's 2026, I'm a strong, independent woman, blah, blah, blah. My conditioning that I inherited is not a strong, independent woman. My conditioning that I inherited is from like the 1930s. Pre-credit cards.
Right. And even if it's not attunement, let's say to the man in your life, women are built to attune. We attune to children. So there's just also some general conditioning around just making sure everyone else is okay. Everyone else can say no to this project, but I can't. Or everyone else can be in a loving and healthy relationship, but that's not for me. And so everyone else can be okay, but it's fine if I'm not.
Yeah, and it comes down to that piece of feeling deserving, of feeling worthy, 100%. And so a lot of the work that I do is once we detangle the whole relationship stuff and we turn it inwards and look at you, typically the women that I work with are very kind, loving, generous people that are depleted because they have been giving all of their gifts to others. And I'm like, can we just take just a little bit of that and pour it back into you? Just a little bit. I'm not saying a lot. I know that's hard.
Hard in the beginning. Hopefully it gets easier.
It's hard in the beginning, yeah. I actually have a male client right now that is very, because again, this isn't just a women or male, discussion. Like right now we're talking about women, but men also go through all of this. But I have a male client right now that I literally said to him the other week, I was like, if you have plants at home, let's say that you have one plant that's you and one plant that's like your wife and your kids and your job. I said, you're really good at watering all those other plants. You give them so much tender love and care. And I'm like, what about yours? It's neglected. And so then what happens, and I'm sure you see this in your work, is that we don't realize it, but the way in which we're treating ourselves attracts all these external circumstances in our lives, the relationships. So then maybe I'm an adult woman, maybe I'm single, I enter a relationship. I don't realize I'm super neglecting myself because I'm just used to taking care of everybody else and their mother and their best friend, because obviously. And then I enter this relationship with this man that's like kind of neglectful, doesn't really pay attention to me, barely knows anything about me. I know everything about him. I ask him questions 24/7. I know his like favorite movie, dog breed, everything. And I get really angry with him, but I don't realize it's not your fault that he's mistreating you. That's not what I'm trying to say. But you don't realize that like something in you attracted this type of person in your life, and this person is actually showing you where you could do a bit more work in yourself. And I'm sure it's the same. I mean,
yes,
I work with people sometimes on their work stuff, and I see it the same in the work life.
And like you said, hard to hear in the beginning, and that's also why they're seeking you out. Go back to when you work on yourself and when you quote unquote clean up your side of the street, and how that does influence the other side.
Yeah.
What have you seen even with people who have improved their relationships? What are some empowering moves that the woman takes that then starts to influence and change the behavior within her relationship?
So number one is awareness. We've covered a lot of that in this conversation, but number one, becoming aware of the underlying dynamics in the relationship, what's causing these issues, how is it that you're showing up, how is it that your partner's showing up. That's very empowering because then you can see things clearly. A lot of times women come to me, they're in like confusion, like black or white, do I stay or leave? And I'm like, it's so much more nuanced than that.
Yeah.
Let's go look at all the nuances. And so once there's a lot of awareness, it's just a lot clearer. I'm not an expert on decision making. I should learn about it a bit more. But we make decisions when we have information, when things are clear, when we feel calm. When we're confused and there's a lot of emotions, it's really hard to make a decision. Number one, awareness. Number two, acceptance. I find that the people that have the most success in relationships is when they radically accept their partner for who they are. And that's a process.
Yes.
You don't like one day wake up and radically accept all of them. You continuously choose intentionally to accept this person for who they are. Because then once you see someone for who they are, then you can make a decision. Silly example. This water bottle is pink. It has multiple layers of pink. Do I like pink? I love pink. Let's hang out with it every single day. I look at the water bottle, I'm like, I don't actually like pink that much. And you have to get honest with yourself. We have to get honest with ourselves as women. I don't actually like pink that much. Love you, respect you. I'm going to stop trying to change you, but I'm going to like slowly distance myself from you because I realize this actually isn't what I like. And I think the issue is, Megan, a lot of us don't know what we like, what we don't like. We don't know what we need. We don't know what our non-negotiables are. We're just open to put up with whatever, we're like a bit reactive as human beings. Just whatever comes our way, a bit passive, we'll deal with it. And dig a little deeper, get a little intentional. Figure out what is it that you like, what is it that you don't like. And then decide. I did a silly exercise a few years ago. It's not silly, it was actually really powerful. But I've been with my partner for such a long time that I had never really sat down to think about, like my single friends, they really think about who do I want, right?
Right.
I was just in a relationship. I never really thought about if I wasn't in a relationship, what would I want? And I was really struggling with my partner, and I was really struggling to accept him for who he was as a human. And so then I made the list, the famous list, what do I want in a man? And everything was him.
You're like,
and I was like, it's right here. I have it right in front of me. And so then when I got really clear on my priorities, which mine were speaks my same languages, because I come from 3 different cultures, is tall, because I'm 5'10", so, that's my only superficial thing, and he needs to be tall. Like, where am I going to find all of this? Probably not that easy. I prioritize that, and then some of the other things, I just let them go. And he knows this. We laugh about this all the time. I'm clearly a chatterbox. I clearly like to have very deep conversations. He doesn't, you know? He likes to talk about sports. I don't. So how about I stop getting mad that he doesn't want to have a deep conversation, and I start finding other people to have deep conversations with. I call you and we talk for 2 hours and it's fantastic. You know, and I hang out with my friends and we have like 6-hour-long conversations, and I outsource those needs instead of expecting my partner to be everything for me.
Yeah, I think that's a huge part. And even when you go into awareness, this is something I say almost typically at the beginning of every coaching relationship. As kids, we're in this, what do I want? What do I want to be? Where do I want to school? And then if you do the college track, it's like, okay, get a job, get married, get the house, have the kids, da-da-da-da-da, you need a stable job. And then it's almost like we start taking things off the table as far as like what are options or choices for us. And we just stop naming what we actually want.
Yeah.
It's like almost at 18, we're like, oh, that part of my life is, I can no longer choose. And we're just not even really encouraged as adults to go back and really figure out what we want. And so I agree. I think there's a lot probably around awareness and getting clear with ourselves so that we can be clear with others.
And you probably see this a lot in your work. You just reminded me, specifically working with high achieving women. Girl, slow down.
Yes.
And I say that to you, not to you, Megan, to our listeners. And I say that to myself, like, girl, slow down. Yeah. We're out here doing all the things, being the massive overachiever, building businesses, side hustles, having kids, doing all the things. How are you going to figure out what you want if you don't even carve out 20 minutes in a week to listen to yourself?
Yeah.
So that's a really big part of it too, the high achievingness. It's fantastic. You get so much done. You get so much external recognition. Look at me doing all the things. Society is like, girl boss, you're amazing, keep going. Job. But internally, there's massive disalignment getting created. And until you really sit down and slow down, I have some women that I work with that I tell them, sit down, slow down, listen to yourself. I know for a fact that the only time of the week where they slow down is because they're on the phone with me.
They're paying you for accountability. Yes. But at least they're doing something. But
they're doing it, right? They're doing it. And that's okay. Like, if, like, at the beginning, you need that accountability. You need help. You need someone to hold the space for you when you start to slow down. Because as someone, for me, going was also like a trauma response. Like, always being in movement and not slowing down and not listening to myself, because when I would slow down, internally things would get really loud and really overwhelming and I couldn't handle them.
And that feels unsafe and uncomfortable.
And it's scary. Yeah. Yes, it's terrifying. Yeah. Yes. So if you need the support, which I needed and I still invest in because I really love support, if you need the support of someone else to hold that space for you and guide you through those like scary, murky waters, go for it.
Yes, absolutely. And especially if you have achieved a lot of success, or at least on paper, through the action, it does feel very uncomfortable to slow down, because you're like, well, I could be doing all these other things, and this is how I've built my career, this is how I've built the life that I have, and if I take my foot off the gas, everything's going to fall apart.
Yes.
Most likely 100%. Not true, but it could feel very true in the moment.
You know, most likely not true. I totally agree with you. Also, sometimes true and sometimes for the better. Sometimes for the better, to kind of really wake up and be like, okay, I'm not crazy. There's a reason I've been overworking, and it's because my partner massively benefits from me overworking. And when I pull away and I create some space and some distance, and I'm sure you see this at work, he doesn't show up.
Right.
Yeah. Do I want to be with someone who doesn't show up? Probably not, because if I'm with someone who doesn't show up, it means I have to keep over showing up.
Right. Which is...
I have to stay in this identity of overgiver, overcarer, over everything.
Yep. Yes.
And that doesn't feel good.
Correct. So between you and me, would you say that a lot of what you're empowering women through is self-leadership?
You know, I hadn't realized that until a few months ago. But it was a few months ago that I was reflecting on the work that I do, and it's self-leadership, 100%. Yes, and things will follow. Yeah,
I want the family, and I want the success. But start with.
And if I can just throw in a quick thing, is the people that I work with, people don't break up. For the most part, people stay together. Okay. That's been my experience. Okay. It takes a lot before someone leaves a marriage or a relationship. It has to be really, really bad, and it takes a lot of time, and it takes a lot of trial and error. When you show up for yourself, you invite your partner to do the same, and for the most part, they do. Maybe they're slower than you, and you just need to accept that because you're high achieving, so when you go into self-development, you go in hard. And that's okay. You know, you just need to accept that some people go at a different pace in life, you know, but for the most part, things do work out.
I love that. That is beautiful to see, though, all the influence that you can have when you do show up for yourself first.
Yeah.
Yeah. And how much that can change. All right, quick question. Is vulnerability harder in love or in leadership?
I want to say in love just because that's the world that I come from. That's just like the most like intimate parts of your life, you know? Yeah. So
I agree with
really,
you.
Yeah.
I think there's a few more guardrails at work that like you can be vulnerable, but like there's a few more guardrails around where it would go. I think love does feel more vulnerable.
It just hits your core to really show yourself the darkest parts of yourself that even you are so ashamed of and you wish you could get rid of, to really let someone else witness that. Terrifying.
Yes.
Beautiful, but terrifying.
Love it.
One last thing. So I was talking earlier about how high achieving women are very goal oriented. So when they don't reach that goal, they feel like they failed. Mm-hmm. And it's like on them that they failed. But it takes two to build a relationship. So when you really look at your side of the street versus your partner's side of the street, it's really important that, and listen, you're still going to feel like you failed. It's okay. Like, emotions are what they are. It's okay. But I say this to kind of reassure whoever's listening. Like, if the relationship doesn't work, you did not fail, because it's not up to you for it to succeed. Mm-hmm. It's not within your control for it to succeed. It takes two people. You need to measure yourself based off your side of the street. Did I do the best that I could do? Do I feel proud of how I showed up in this relationship?
I love that. And I'm so glad you said that, because that is also empowering and takes off some of the pressure. Good job. Are you ready for a couple of quick fire questions?
Yeah, go for it. I'm not great at those, but go for it.
It's going to be so fun.
Okay.
What does feminine leadership mean to you?
Courage, compassion, vulnerability.
Awesome. What is the Francesca secret sauce?
Ooh, humor, keeping it real, and lots of compassion.
What are you reading or listening to right now?
I'm actually reading Come As You Are.
Yes.
With my friends from book club.
So good. It's so good.
You are?
I've been recommending it to everyone. It's so well done. It's so well done.
It's so well done. It's a little intellectually taxing sometimes because it's very smart. And so sometimes I read audiobooks and I'm like doing other stuff. I'm like cleaning the dishes, so I have to really focus. But it's really good. I'm really enjoying it.
And as a nonfiction book, I think she makes it as funny and accessible as possible.
Yes. She just says the really smart thing, and then she breaks it down for us laymen.
Yes, I agree. So well done. Well, I'm glad that we are tandem reading that. That's amazing. Thank you so much for being here. Such a treat to have you here.
Thank you so much. Always such a treat talking to you.
Thank you so much for listening today. I would really, really appreciate it if you left comments and sent in a review. This really helps me understand what resonated with you so I can continue to create more episodes that speak to you. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.